Guys, Anthony Rodriguez here. Welcome to episode 12 of my music vlog, Let's Talk Ant. And in today's episode, I want to take you behind the scenes of the soundtrack Clash that I wrote for the official trailer of the feature film, Rupture Film, that's based in the UK. I had the privilege of working with Dom in creating directed Dom from the UK, in putting together a score that isn't orchestral, but more of sound design, more of dark synth pads, a few metal sounds, and all that stuff. For that feature film, there is a theme melody, and I was able to take those notes and incorporate it because I really wanted to use the theme melody to represent the trailer, so that people can get a sense of this is the signature melody for this film. So when the film comes out, people will react to it. So I'm gonna take you strictly to the post production part, and I'm gonna show you, what I did, and take you through the process real quick. All right, guys, let's get to it. So what's up, guys? Welcome to my control table here, the composer desk. And here in my Pro Tools file, I'm going to show you behind the scenes of Clash and the plugins that I used to do some processing and sound designing. So let's get right to it. So over here in my main screen, you can see everything is basically by default. I think it's blue. I think the default color is blue. I'm not sure. And then I have some MIDI tracks that I had to open to write some extra stuff, extra music. And I have my two reverb sets. I use a convolution reverb and algorithmic reverb. I do a hint of both for each instrument. And sometimes I don't add it on certain instruments because I feel like it doesn't need it. But in some cases, I add it on everything, and it's just a drop of reverb, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so over here, you can see I have on my master bus, just to take you through the mixing chain that I have. I always start with the VU from Waves Audio, and I just want to point out that this is not sponsored by anything or anybody or any company. Okay, so this is a VU meter, and what this does is it helps me to measure the volume and the dynamics and everything. So if I feel like something is spiking, I'll either put a limiter or a compressor, or just automate, whichever I feel like doing at that particular moment. I would go for it. So you can see that I always keep the mixes. For this particular one, I kept it at 0, the master bus. I normally take it down to -6 dB, but I don't remember the reason why I did this, but there is a reason. So, but you can actually see here. You can see that everything is fairly leveled well here. So I guess that worked out for me. I guess, typically when I also mix, once I finish leveling it to my best of ability, I'll do a whole group of the whole score, and I'll lower the volume and I'll measure it with the VU meter. So that's the first thing I put in my master bus. And then after that, I like to use the UAD. Is it around here somewhere? Yeah, it's right. Well, after that, for this score, I used there we go, a stereo tool. I think it's version 3. This is from Flux, and It just helps me to see where everything's going. In a score like this, when you use reverbs and everything, you'll see a few things flying around. That's the reverb tail and all that stuff. Usually, you can make the decision how picky you want to be with the phasing and all that stuff. I just do my very best to keep everything as normal as possible. But yeah, so this helps you with that. The next thing I have on my master bus is the UAD something, which I have it here. And for some reason, I have the EQ off. Typically, you want to kind of have that on. I don't know why I have it off, but it's there. And I probably forgot to turn it on. But anyway, it still came out great. So I have this. I like to put it through the Neve console because it gives me that Neve, the Neve feel. So I've never. I have a friend that has a real console, but I don't think I've ever been in a recording session where things were coming out of the console. I've been around consoles, but never cared about it too much. So as a producer and as a at some level audio engineer, I do care about where my stuff is coming out from. But I know that Neve has a great console, and the plugins are phenomenal, and you can't go wrong with that. This is feeding off the DSP from my Apollos. So I have the main X6P interface. I have a satellite, and I have the Apollo Twin over here. And with the combine, it's I don't know what the combination of DSPs, but I have a fair amount of DSPs to do a fair amount of things. So usually, sometimes I can go overboard, and I would have to pick and choose what track is going to have what, But it's a great energy saver for your computer. So I love it. Even though they went to Sparks now, so it's a subscription based. Spark is part of the UAD, and you can subscribe. You can subscribe to their thing and have whatever plugins they have available in their subscription. But it uses the computer's power, so it's native and it's great, but it uses the computer's power. So it's pros and cons with everything. And being that, in my computer, I have SSDs, solid state drives. I have, the Blackmagic dock with SSDs, and you still want to, the more you can add protection for your computer, take the load off of your computer, that'll be fantastic. So yeah, so this is feeding off the DSP. I also have the FabFilter Pro 3. I don't do much with this equalizer. I just do like a subtle stereo enhancer. It's a preset. It does the minimal thing. It makes a difference in the tiniest thing. So it's a great, Fab filters are great. It has great parameters to work with, and you can see with your eyes what's up, what high frequencies are high, and then you can lower it and play around with it. I also have the main Mamma Jamma here. GoFos is a plugin that it's I think it's an artificial intelligence plugin. It might be there might be another term to that. I'm not sure. But you can recover, tame, bias, brighten, and boost the bass. So basically, when you start playing with these parameters, it starts EQing your whole mix. I have this in the master bus, and what it does is whatever mix you do, it gives you some clarity. I think that's the best way to describe this. It clarifies your mix, so you can go overboard or you can go fairly to the middle somewhere, and you can. So basically, I have it at 35%, not messing with this, not messing with that, nor this and this. It's just a recovery. So it adds some type of clarity to your mix. Basically, it's like kind of like EQing the mix and adding some, taking away some frequencies that might not work well. The con to it is if you do have a frequency that you're meant to have, that this might read as, hey, this is kind of a weird frequency, then you might want to keep the recovery level at a low. So it's a great tool. It does add clarity. It does add color to your mix. It's great. Next thing I have here is what I use to mix is the VSX from Slate Audio or Slate Digital. I'm not sure which one. And what this is, this gives me studio rooms, multi-million-dollar studio rooms. So we have, different rooms here. You have a car. You have all of these rooms. It gives you a few seconds to switch so that your ear can prepare for the next room. And I think you have that. You have a club. You have a boombox. You have headphone models. And then the expansions that recently came out from Mike Dean's studio and also his car. So that's a big screen. Okay. So yeah, so I use this to start the mix, and I can see where I'm, where the frequencies are going. And even though my room here is acoustically treated, you can tell when you leave my room to go to the next room or to the next section, you can hear the acoustics, you can hear the reflections on the other room. Over here it's more quieter. So I do depend on this software in regards to not missing a beat with frequencies and making sure that my bass is fairly to the best shape that I can put it on, so that after I use this, I'll put them in my Quested system and put the subwoofer on, and I can hear that it's not overwhelming. It's not the bass frequencies are not sticking out, and it sounds fairly good. And that's why I use this mostly to handle the frequencies. It's a great thing to have. Next up, I have stage 1. Now, stage 1 is a thing that protects the phasing. You can spread things out. You can play around with these parameters. So if you have a vocal on a mono track, you can spread it out. You can literally spread out the mono track. So from Lead Point, stage 1, I actually learned of this from Alan Mayerson, film score mixer. And I wanted to try it out, and it does great things. It has great presets as well. Like for this score, I used a very wide, it's like a pre-mastering thing. So that when it went to the mastering, I didn't need to use the wide feature to widen the stereo or whatever. So it's a cool tool to have. And then over here is another great tool. It's called the inflator, Oxford inflator. So this basically, to keep it simple, this adds volume without compromising your meters and the boost. So it boosts up the volume. It gives it like a curve effect. It gives it a juice to your mix, without it peaking to the red, in your master bus or in the VU meter. So it'll stay the same, which is pretty awesome. Of course, you have some buttons that you might have to play with, but that goes with try and error and playing around with things. So that's the mixing bus, what I use for this track. I usually use the same things on almost everything that I work on. Of course, the amount of juice that I use on each plugin varies. So going into the sense, I have, like I said before, I have a convolution reverb, and this convolution reverb is Cinesamp. It's from Cinematic Rooms from Liquid Sonics. So by default, I always use the Amist, Amethymst. I'm saying it wrong, but it's the first hall that you get when you open the plugin, right there. And you always want to have the wet, dry knob all the way to the full, to the 100%. And you can play around with the reverb time. It's by default, it's there. I can lower it if I want. You can do lower the bass, do like a little high pass filter, and which I typically put a fab filter EQ under each reverb send, but for this one I didn't. So I used this as my convolution reverb, and Seventh Heaven Professional, I use it as my algorithmic reverb. If you don't know what the difference is between these two, convolution is basically, like sampling the room, the real sound of the room. And algorithmic would be something that's has a mixture of artificial creations, to put it in simple terms, and it combines together and it makes like a reverb. So you can hear, like at the end, you can hear like different rhythms happening. Opposed to convolution, it's giving you the room sound. It's giving you the what a hall will sound like. So that's the difference between the two. There's more explanations to that. You can Google that and learn. So now that we got the master and the two reverb sends, I'm going to take you to the score. So in the score, I have a lot of stuff happening here, but not all at the same time. So you can see this gap here. The official trailer starts right here. But for the OST, the official soundtrack, I added some stuff before the sounds started coming in from the official trailer. So, for example, I started with a boom. I call it the boom. So let me show you where I got the boom from. It's a Spitfire Aperture the Stack. This came out, I believe, maybe 2 years ago or even last year. I do not remember. But I used the synth FX. You can hear it here. I'm going to the end. So that's like the preparation for the score to start. I don't know what I just did right now, but I think I just lowered by accident. Okay. The next thing I added was, and then I, with the EQ on the intro boom, I did some cuts there. Gotta put this on low. So if I take this out, so those are just decisions that people make, when they're EQing stuff. Over here for the low longs, I think this is the one that has the melody line. I think it starts with the melody line. No, that's not it. Okay, but this is also from Aperture. And then, for these, I think they're the same sound. And I just used a different part of that sound. And what I did was, with this one, I did a little EQ there. I used the Dear Reality. It's like a panner thing where you can, go all around the spectrum, the stereo thing, and you can widen the whatever you do, you could do that. I kept it. I have it here because it's gonna rotate somewhere. I don't know if it's gonna rotate here. Let me see. is. Oh, I think it's over here. It's over here. You can see I did an automation. It didn't move. I forgot if I don't know if I deleted that or, yeah, I think yes, I ended up not using it. Okay, I guess it was like a trial thing. I guess I did not do anything to rotate that. I think it was over here, another instrument. Okay, so yeah, I guess it was one of those things where I tried it and I just didn't like it and I just left it there. Maybe I should just get rid of it. The plugin contains automation data, but from where though? Now I'm gonna have to look for it. I just don't remember from where. What did I do? What did I do? Okay. Anyway, we're not gonna stick to that. Obviously, if it's not moving, it's not moving. So, and then I added a leap point stage 1 to widen the bass. I wanted to widen the bass there. It's a preset. It does it work for you. You could actually, go pull it back a little bit, the width, and play around with those things. So this is basically all try and error and what sounds good stage. What didn't sound good, didn't stay. Moving on to the third Aperture Stack plugin. What I did here, I have no idea. Let's check it out. Oh, cool. So the melody for this feature film, it's basically doing a da 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 da. So it's da 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 da. So 7 notes for this whole film. So I did a synth sound playing da da. So you could be so creative with these melody lines, and I want to keep that signature the signature melody for this film. I wanted to keep it in the original trailer, and I did some processing with that, as you can hear it. If I take you to, let me take you to the stack. Where are you, Stacky? I think it's right there. I don't want meters. So yeah, I kept it flat, okay? And then the Echo Boy from Sound Toys, another good one here. So if I bypass it, this is how it's going to sound. If I put it back, it's going to give you that kind of like the harmonic saturation, flow towards the end. Check it out with the Echo Boy on. Just beautiful. I love those tools. So that's that. So I added those 3 synthesizers at the beginning before the score would start. So the first one I did here was a bass tone The processing that I did to it was high pass or low pass, and I kind of took a little bit of bass out because I wanted it to be, I wanted to have a bottom end. So I made the decision to just keep it like that. And stage one, to widen the bass. So with this thought in mind, this was the only bassy instrument that's going to have power in the bottom. If we look at the second track, I do have another bassy sound. But it's not as bassy as the other one. So this one I do have a high pass filter. I cut off some highs. And I added something from Abbey Road's mastering chain. I added some spread on that. I could have used the leap wing as well, but I wanted to use this one. Don't ask me why I did that, but it's done. So you have, this one playing like an arpeggiated. So that's the melody line for the feature film. But on this one, I'm going. So remember that the basic melody line is da 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 da. So I took the melodic lines and I changed the rhythms. The sound itself, the way it is, was good enough for me, so I didn't have to do any other type of processing to that. Okay, so now we're gonna go with low hits. So I wanted to keep it to this, the bass cut off a little bit. I think I did a 12 dB, I believe. Yeah. And then I didn't want no highs on that, so just kept, cut off whatever leftover highs can be. Whatever highs can be taken away, that's what I did. And then on this one's a bass arp. So there's panning as well involved here. So I have a few things pan to the left, to the right, not hard left, not hard right, but this one's like in the mid left. I'm sorry, mid right. So you can hear the low hit is on the left side and the bass arp is on the right side. I just love playing with panning. I think it's fun. Okay, so on the Night Shore, don't know what that is, but it's part of the sound that I used in my writing DAW on Logic. It's like this. So you can see what I did with the EQ. I cut off some frequencies that are not needed. A significant amount here, a significant amount there. I added this like a little dip here in the middle so that it doesn't get annoying when I plays the high pitch parts of that sound. So I can show you how it sounds without it. So it does a minimum change there. Whatever minimum things you can do, you want to do it, but you never want to also EQ it to the point of death where you just lose the power of the sound that you were using, that you were inspired to use. And so sometimes you might have to get rid of stuff in order to keep something else, just because while you're writing music, you're just throwing out all the ideas that you have, and and then when you try to go to mix, it becomes a bomb of frequency sounds, and then you have to get rid of some sounds there. So the next thing we have is the melody line. So there you have the melody line the way it's supposed to be for the featured film. Da 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 da. And with the EQ, I did like a brick wall here and brick wall for the high. And then stage 1 for some 100% wide, I used a JC Lead Vocal 3D preset from Leapwe Stage 1 for this. And these things are all experimental, so you can experiment. If it sounds great, fine. And you learn this from sound engineers that they experiment. You turn knobs, you see where it is. And I kind of learned this by playing with my Moog setup over there. I have an analog setup over there, and the only way I get to experiment and run into things is by turning knobs and seeing what works. Okay, the next thing we have here is something choir effect. So you hear that, like that sound design-ish choir effect. I did like a tilt here. So I'm going to bypass it so you can hear without the EQ. So you could already hear it's very bassy, but I already have something bassy up there, the bass that's widened, so it's taking care of the bottom end. So I didn't want this to interfere with that, so I did this tilt. And with all these instruments, you can hear a reverb tail, you can hear the convolution and algorithmic reverb together. You hear that? So it's a little drop of both reverbs. So don't know where I'm at right now. Okay, so the transition sound. You hear that on the left. When you hear the soundtrack on your preferred sound music platform, you hear all these sounds pretty much on the left side, as spread as you can. As spread as whatever I could do to spread it out as much possible. That's what I did. So that's a transition sound, and then we have no idea what this is. Let's find out. Okay, so no drums in the score, but I needed to add some type of hit to make things come in with a bang. So in the soundtrack, you're not going to hear a rhythm, a percussion rhythm, a drum rhythm. You're just going to hear sounds. So I did add a percussion hit, a drum hit to make it happen. And then I used a preset from FabFilter to get this done. So with these presets, I play around with the presets and I choose what sounds right for this score. I did use the Neve for this one. Basically, sometimes what you do is you just turn it on and not use nothing but just one thing. In this case, I used a filter here, a high pass filter for the drums because it was a heavy hit. So you kind of want to control that. You can actually hear it. That's with that on. If I turn off the Neve, you can hear the low end spread out. One more time with it bypassed. with it on. So it still spreads out, but it's not on the bassy side. And then over here, we have another hit on this side, on the right side. I did no processing whatsoever on that. I just left it alone. A choir boom. So I'm assuming this is like a short hit. A crunchy ending to the sound. Beautiful. I just added like a kind of like a tilt mixed with other things there. Low and then bringing up the high because this is a sound design decision because I wanted the crunch of the sound to show. So if I put the whole thing together, we might be able to hear it. So you can hear the crunch, like the crunchy effect at the end. So that this was a sound design decision. Okay, so going into the chief sound. So this is part of the sound design where in the scene where the chief comes to see the dead body on the floor, this sound will come out. Sorry, this is the part where the chief is talking to the detective in the interrogation room. So I used the same preset I used for the bass on the top, wider bass on the leap wing. Going into the high tones on the right side. You can see what I did with the EQ here. High ARP. No processing whatsoever there. This one. I said no drums, but I guess there is a bass drum here, keeping the beat. You can see the EQing there. It's also EDM kick EQ, and another one here. So this is a sound design thing, emulating a hi-hat. And then over here, this is a snare. So they're like sound design-ish type of drum, percussive type of sounds. So you're not really, the only thing that sounds like a drum is the bass drum. And maybe the drum hit that I showed you earlier. So then over here, we have another arpeggiated sound, and I used Abbey Road's mastering chain for that one. Moving along, then we have a tension type of sound. With this type of EQ. What else do we have here? We have man, I just love sound. Just great. Okay. Hit roll. Let's see what that is. I don't know what that is. Both of them there. Okay. Okay, so it's a roll leading into a hit. So this is the part where there's different scenes cutting from one part to the next. Um, um. So those rolls are that. So not a lot of processing, maybe just high pass filtering. And then this right here is yes, just like ending the score. That's ending the score. I started from the default setting and I just played around with the parameters here with the faders and did whatever worked. We can see the difference. So when it's bypassed, it sounds a bit down. When you unbypass it, it sounds a little bit more bright and beautiful. Okay. And over here, yeah. And same thing, stage one. The last sound of the score would be this, another synthesizer. I think this is the one that has the rotation. So yeah, from Dear Reality, I added the automation that to rotate around the spectrum. So basically, boom. So let's hear it with the whole score together. So there you go. So that is the behind the scenes of the official soundtrack for the official trailer of Rupture Film. This is called Clash, and you can stream this on any music platform. Clash. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode where we're going to share something else. All right? Please don't forget to press the notification bell, subscribe to my channel, and share with your friends, okay? If you have any questions whatsoever about this session, perhaps how I started writing it, let me know, and this can become a part 2, all right? Well, there could be a part 2, all right? All right, peace.